You're listening to the Bored to Death Bingecast, talking TV shows and movies in easily digestible chunks. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and other assorted gender assignations. Welcome to a Bored to Death Wrapcast, not a conventional Bingecast today. I'm here with
Zeke.
Obviously, I am Jay Winger, and we're going to do a little Wrapcast about an anime that you introduced me to, called I Don't Want to Get Hurt, So I'll Put All My Points into Defense, otherwise known as BOFURI.
Or the overpowered defensive character that never takes damage.
Yeah, it was one of those ones that you said I should sit down and check out. You thought I would like it, and I was like, all right, one episode. And damn it, I got hooked.
Yes, the best way to get Jay into anything is either let him know there's a good story involved, or something extremely overpowerful that can never be beaten.
Right, and that's how you got me into Fire Force, which we did for Bingecast a couple months, month or so ago. But in the case of BOFURI, we've been watching it on Funimation, waiting for the English dub because you Zeke, you prefer dubs over subs.
I would say, depending on my brain power, if I want to just sit back and mellow, I want to be able to listen instead of reading.
Right. Fair. That's fair. And I'm generally the same way. For the record, I generally prefer subs over dubs, but if the dub is good, I'm willing to overlook it. But enjoy your anime how you prefer to enjoy it. We don't care whether you prefer dubs over subs or subs over dubs.
What's the Spanish
version
of anime? Would it be dub, sub, or Espanol?
It would still be dubs for them. It just wouldn't be in English. It would be in Spanish.
Makes sense.
The subs would also be in Spanish. You are trying to overcomplicate things. You were trying to make a joke that just doesn't work.
I'm not a jokey guy. I'm sorry.
At any rate, but in the case of BOFURI, when because they ran into some issues, I guess, getting everybody in to record for the English of it, I guess due to COVID-19, because it only was up to like episode 8 out of 12, and then there was nothing.
Yep.
And then it was just like they I guess finally got caught up, and they started releasing it on a weekly the last 4 episodes on a weekly basis, and it was literally to the point of we were in mid watching some episodes of Fire Force, and we were intending to just keep going, and then for some reason, you backed out to the menu, and we saw there was a new episode of BOFURI out, and I was like, "We're doing that right now."
Well, my personal favorite, when you're upstairs doing your thing, and you got a text message going, "I need you for 30 minutes," because I saw the final episode that was on. You're like, "What's going on?"
And I just look at the TV. I see BOFURI up. I was like, "Oh, okay," and I just immediately sat down. So for those of you who don't know what the gist of it is. It's basically telling the story of a couple of friends who are playing like an online MMO VR game. I don't remember what they actually said the game was called. Doesn't matter.
It's called Words.
Yeah, Words.
Words. Like, not words. Words. Like
Worlds.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Sometimes required.
Yeah. But at any rate, and the main character, I forget what her name in the real world is, but she's called Maple in the game, which is where most of the series takes place. She doesn't want to get hurt in the game, so when she's creating her character, she dumps all of her points into her defensive stat, which means she has like no attack power, no movement speed, so she moves at normal like walking pace when everyone else is capable of using like speed attacks or moving faster than her.
Not even just say that. Not even just attacks. Remember, like when she's in the town, everybody's walking at normal speed, and she's just unable to keep up with them because
she's moving at like turtle speeds.
Yes.
But she then basically goes into like the starter area, beginner's forest, and just like falls on top of like the slowest enemies and crushes them with her great shield. And
by accident, poor bunny.
But the game has a skills system where it's like the more you do something, the higher you get more perks in that skill, and so she gets a whole lot more perks for in her in defensive stats, and as she levels up, she keeps putting all of her points into defense. She doesn't diversify at all. Nope. And then she, with no ability to attack whatsoever, apart from falling on top of things, she decides she's going to go into a dungeon and fights a boss.
Well, you have to remember, she at that point in time, she always started getting some poison immunity from the bees.
Oh, that's right. She had acquired some poison resistance. She hadn't acquired immunity yet. She got that by fighting the Hydra. And that's the thing. She has this poison debuff thing as part of her stats, and so she decides she's going to go take on this dungeon solo with no attack power.
As the people going, hopefully she doesn't do that.
Yeah, and she had like a couple of potions. She had a stack of potions. That's right.
She got them from the friends that she made. The crafter right. And the other guy.
And the other guy.
Yeah.
A couple of players that she just met in the starter village. And so she goes in and she faces down the Hydra, and literally her strategy is to just stand there, tank all of its poison attacks, just keep gulping down like HP potions until she acquires poison immunity. So now the Hydra can't damage her with its poison attacks, but she still has no way of actually hurting it until it like coils around her, and then she just literally bites it to death.
Yeah, she eats
the boss to death. She literally cherry taps it. And then as a result of defeating it, she gets a huge bunch of XP. She acquires the ability to summon the Hydra as an ability, and a bunch of other, like, she gets like a new great shield, I think, from the chest there, didn't she?
She gets a new set of armor completely.
That's what it was. Completely new set of armor.
A whale drop that is supposed to be like unique to that character. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was like nobody else is going to acquire that armor if they face the Hydra. And we're literally just watching this like, how is she doing this? How does this work? But here's what makes it even funnier. Even the game's admins are like, how is she doing this? She's literally breaking the game with the abilities that she acquires over all this time.
What else could she become?
Oh my God. By the end of the first season, which is only 12 episodes long, so it's not a very long season. I like that. It's something you could binge in a day.
I think the thing I like about this the most was the anticipation. While we've been binging like Gundam and everything like that, it's been huge 6-4 episodes. This is one of those things where we had to wait a week and just let all the characters.
Well, when you first introduced me to it, it was like there was the first like 8 episodes available, but we were only doing it like 1 or 2 episodes at a time because I just felt like taking my time with it, and I liked that because when it got to the end of the penultimate episode of the season, when they're in the middle of a big PvP event, and like the number 1 guild in the game sends all their heavy hitters to try to take her Maple and her guild on. And Maple actually takes damage for like the first time in like 6 episodes. Oh my God. And almost dies. She gets to like 1 HP. And we're like, oh my God. End of episode. And when the finale came out, then she basically reveals how she's going to deal with it. Well, oh my God, it was hilarious.
We also got to back up because at that point in time, she became an angel, a mech king, a demon lord.
No, it wasn't mech king. Machine God.
A demon lord at that point in time.
The armor of the demon lord. That's right. That's what it was.
Oh God, she had like
love and sacrifice was the angel thing.
Yes.
She had the machine gods. She basically becomes a ship girl, and then literally she turns into Godzilla.
That was the best part towards the end.
We were laughing our asses off. I was like, she's a fucking raid boss.
She was a raid boss, that's for sure. But the thing she was weak against was pushbacks. It was interesting that they went with pushbacks. And that's one thing I love about this. Because you asked Jay, I'm a big gamer. I love my games. Every time we watch the episode, I'm like, I want this game in real life because you got all these stats and everything. Like,
all the skill system in the game that they developed was a really, really interesting thing.
Mm-hmm. And then you also have special items. You got not only armor, but you also got special abilities. Like when she became the angel because she did that side quest for a character. And then it all wrapped up very nicely and neatly.
Well, and over the course of the series, her friend Sally, as she goes by in the game, is astonished at how, like in one day, Maple suddenly becomes this tank, while Sally wasn't able to join her because she was forced into doing stuff in IRL
because she couldn't. Her grades were down, and she
her,
couldn't hop in the game.
Right, and so she then decides she's just going to roll a new character so she can basically be support for Maple by putting a bunch of her points into speed. Not all of them, but a bunch of them into speed. Doing like a swashbuckler class. Yep. That's what it was. And so she's basically just doing like, the speedy things and using the backstab multiplier to like.
she's able to support, but at the same time, they also show the episode. We're doing one of the guild events where she cut free and she had to go get some tokens for killing people. Mm-hmm. It's like, Maple, you just chill here. I'll be back. And she went out and just annihilated people.
Well, because Sally is the expert at this game. She'd been playing it a lot before Maple decided to join her. And then when Maple revealed how she had basically leveled up her character, she was like, that's interesting. I think I'm going to give that a try. And thus re-rolled a character for herself.
Actually, I think the game was new because remember, Sally gave Maple.
Well, okay, maybe Sally was familiar with these sorts of games.
Yeah, she was familiar
but she wasn't able to join her on day one because of the.
That's why she was really excited. She wanted to join. That's why she gave the game to Maple,
so that she could play with her friends.
Yes,
because let's face it, playing games is always better when playing with friends.
Oh yes.
Although if you want to do stuff solo. Do stuff solo. You do you, whatever makes you happy.
You can't blame people when you die, though.
Exactly. Well, you can blame people. You just blame the developers. Because clearly they made the game wrong.
They bugged the spot.
Yeah. The boss is too OP. Please nerf. But that's basically what the admins start having to do for Maple because with the great shield she got, I think
Devour.
The Devour skill that she had allowed her to basically literally just use her shield to absorb enemy attacks.
Oh, you might
and reduce the incoming damage to 0.
Not just to reduce to 0, to get rid of people completely. Because there was this part where she's sitting there and she's drawing like a dragon, and this guy's like, "Aha! I'm here to attack you!" Devour. And he just comes out and swings this big powerful weapon, and she's like, "Devour!" And he just gets destroyed.
Yeah, his sword hits her shield just.
The best part,
and so they nerfed it by basically making she can only use it 10 times a day,
which I think they increased that because she used that a lot more than 10 towards the end.
No, I think it was just in those PvP events; those were happening over several days, and it was just.
It's true.
It's like she used it all in one day, then like the reset happened. And then over the course of and then while Sally joins in and is getting her own skills by literally doing the same sort of thing that Maple was, doing the same tasks over and over again until she levels up the skill. They then basically decide to start their own guild, and so they recruit some of the people that they met in town. The crafter is another great shield user. Can't remember the character's name now.
I have done my research.
Zeke's pulling it up on his phone.
You're better at reading. We have Sally. We have
Kanade. That's the other great shield user. Yeah. Kasumi. She's basically like a samurai type. Mm-hmm. She Kuromu. I think that's the mage.
Yes.
The puzzle guy.
The puzzle guy.
The Bishi puzzle guy. And Mei and Yui, who are the twins. And Mei and Yui are an interesting type. They're twins. They look distinctly different enough that you can tell this one's Mei, this one's Yui, but they basically usually speak in unison. They both did the opposite of Maple. They put all of their points into attack, so they move as slowly as Maple does. But they have no defense. They're glass cannons, basically.
If they hit you, you're screwed. But if you touch them, they fall over.
And they're like hammer users. They both have like giant hammers, which they eventually learn how to dual wield.
Yes, because the crafter gives them some special gear and some special weapons.
And because of the unique way that they have constructed this guild with these characters that are wildly overbalanced in terms of how they've arranged their stats. It's just one of the interesting things in the series is every episode ends with like showing like the in-game chat, like global chat, as people are like, oh my god, did you see what Maple did? Oh my god, stuff like that, just but it's happening so quickly and it's all in Japanese, so we're trying to read the captions as these things are flying by. It's one of those pause to enjoy it sort of things.
Oh yeah.
And that's what ultimately, after the end of the first season, after Maple's guild manages to place in the top 3, not number 1, they were number 3 out of the guilds in the PvP event. The game admins were like, what are we going to do about Maple? She keeps breaking the game. And one developer one of the admins literally just goes, I say we don't do anything to her. She's become the face of the game by this point.
Let's debuff her. We can't do that. She's the face of the game. Oh no. Everybody hops on to see what Maple's doing this time.
Yeah, exactly. And to an extent, I understand where the admins are coming from. She's drawing people to the game, which is what the admins want on a corporate level. They want to get more people playing their game so it can be more successful. But at the same time, I see where the other admins are coming from. She is breaking the game literally every time she takes the field.
I'm really surprised with this franchise, though. They didn't add more outside sources to it. Like, so who Sally and Maple are, but you never see anybody outside.
It's still only the first season.
Mm-hmm.
We do see the one episode where it's like, because Maple basically played the game obsessively that first weekend. And then she went back to school the following week and had to like take herself out of game mode for so much of everything. I suspect we're going to see more of that in season 2, which they have confirmed. We won't be doing a regular Bingecast sort of thing for that, but we might do another Wrapcast once season 2 is done.
If it still got us like it did.
I hope it does, but they do introduce other characters besides the Maple Tree Guild that Maple founds. The 2 main guilds that they introduce are the Flame Emperors, which is run by Mi is her name, MII. And we get to know like 2 of her main lieutenants, or 3 technically, but 2 of them get more attention than others. One is like a trap master, one is the healer. And Mi is seen as a very charismatic, very, very strong player, but we also find out that Mi has huge insecurity issues.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like when she suddenly realizes I lost, it like devastates her.
Should we put spoilers in this?
We're already spoiling. That's the point of the Wrapcast. We are going to be spoiling stuff.
The best part about when you realize this, Maple has got her beat, and she's like, you know what? I'm going to take her out with me. I'm going to self-destruct and damage her and take her out with me.
It's just like, I'm going down, but I'm taking you with me.
And she doesn't. She blows herself up.
Well, except she didn't realize she didn't
until she got back to the afterlife part.
Well, yeah.
And they're like, you didn't take... And she started going into like shell crying.
It was kind of hilarious, but you feel bad for her at the same time.
Well, she's going to God, so...
But then there's the other guild, which is the Order of the Holy Sword, which has the number 1 player, Pain, in it, along with like 3 other really strong players. We do get to meet them. But Pain, we don't see his face until like episode 10 out of 12. You only ever see him from behind, or you see him from like the nose down.
Really? I thought it was always the hairline. I don't think the nose. His nose was showing too much. Because you never saw his face. It was his hairline or something.
Or maybe his mouth, but they kept most of his face hidden. Well, okay, so from like the bridge, from like the bottom of his nose down. But regardless, Pain was basically established as the best player in the game.
Yes, and the true force of Maple's fighting mechanism.
And yeah, there's a number of like events that take place over the course of the first season, and Maple and Maple Tree place well enough that they are seen as one of the stronger of these smaller guilds. Mm-hmm. But by the end of season 1, they are now one of the top 3 guilds, and they're only like 8 members strong.
The best part about that is the fact that Maple, I guess her charisma is just off the chart because of her personality. Because every time, so the samurai chick that they fought, Kasumi, they fought her, and there was going to be a PvP battle to the death for coins, and they got sucked into a dungeon, and they all had survived, or if one died, they all would die.
Right.
And she became friends with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had the Fire Emperor May, then you had also the Holy Sword. Everybody there. At the end of it,
it's just like they basically recognize while she is a monster in terms of trying to fight her, she's a really nice person.
We all accepted the friend request. Well, might as well be here, right?
And it's just that she basically made friends with the other two big guilds, or at least the leaders of the two big guilds, and it's basically they haven't looked to see what they've said is going to happen in season 2 very much, but I suspect we'll see a bunch of them doing friendly stuff with the other guilds, but when the PvP events when the events come along, they're just sort of like, yeah, we're not friends right now because now we're in competition.
I shall beat you this time, Maple. I promise.
That's the thing. I suspect that Pain is going to start trying to grind to be able to actually beat Maple, especially when she uses Atrocity, which is the Godzilla thing. It was just hilarious.
I think the Atrocity broke me when they did Shadow Clone Atrocity.
Oh my god, that's right. Shadow Clone no Jutsu.
Godzilla breathing fire, and then breathing fire.
Well, it's not just breathing fire. This wasn't just like atomic breath. This was Shin Godzilla, like laser breath.
And as they're breathing fire, you have the one who just jumps and sits on everybody. It's like, what the heck?
It was ridiculous. I wasn't expecting to like it nearly as much as I did. Same with Fire Force. I was like, okay, I'm seeing a lot of the typical, like with Fire Force, I saw a lot of the typical shonen anime tropes in Force there, albeit it seemed like they were accelerating so much of them so quickly. Like the investigating the first division thing was one of those things that if it were like Dragon Ball Z would be like 20 to 25 episodes alone, or taking on Princess's division, that would have been another 20 episodes right there.
Well, and then 10 episodes for the power level go up at least.
Oh yeah, and then you know them in the neo-traditionalist part of town with 7th division.
Yep.
You know, that would have been another 15 to 20 or 30 episodes there, and instead it's all wrapped up in like 2 or 3 episodes at a time, and I'm like, what?
The worst part about it is we're watching BOFURI. I don't even know what genre it is. The only reason why I watched this, because before I watched this, I watched another show called extremely overpowerful hero who's overcautious and overpowerful. And then
you could probably look it up on Funimation. You have the Xbox up right here.
And then on top of that, it's like, okay, so I wanted to watch that because it had a strange and funny name. I hopped on the next show. I was like, okay, cool. I want to put all my stats in defense so I don't want to get hurt.
Yeah, I don't want to get hurt, so I put all my points into defense. And yeah, it was just like, what?
And that's one of the things like, what?
Yeah, and it was intriguing. I think this was the one that you pointed to me, because we've talked about doing like D&D amongst our friends here. We don't have any current plans to record that and put it up on our YouTube channel. We probably, because most of us will be newbies at it. We don't know how good it will necessarily appear, but you talked about wanting to come up with our own campaign in D&D, and you cited this as something to watch as an idea, because you specifically wanted to do like a D&D style thing, but it was where everybody's playing it in a game like BOFURI.
Yep.
And so that's why you wanted me to watch it, and I got sucked into it.
Don't think it tells you what kind of genre this is.
Yeah. It has a lot in common with typical sorts of and I wouldn't say shonen, but those sorts of like action fantasy sort of genres. So I would just basically call it one of those action adventure maybe. But action adventure. Yeah, action adventure is a pretty broad category by itself. Cautious hero, the hero's overpowered but overly cautious. That's the series that led you to BOFURI. Okay.
Though I will say one thing about watching things on Funimation, especially if it's dubbed, you recognize voices.
Yeah, like you noticed.
Pain was Bakugo.
Bakugo's voice actor did Pain. We noticed. Shinra's voice actor did one of the other Holy Sword
guys.
He
was the guy with the multiple swords.
The multi-sword guy, that's right.
The weapons in there were so good.
I did like some of the abilities and sword and weapons and stuff. Like, was it the multi-sword guy that basically did the Bankai from Bleach, where his sword literally turned into like multiple little flying like daggers, swooping all over the place.
And he started attacking them because it was him versus what's her name? Kasame. Because they fought before, and he goes, "I've learned more techniques. I've gotten better."
Because she managed to beat him barely, but she managed to beat him. But yeah, it's an interesting series. Probably not going to be for everyone, but like I said, season 1 is relatively short, only 12 episodes, so it's something you could binge in one day if you got time. We enjoyed it. We're both looking forward to season 2.
And it ended with us just on our sets like, oh god, we gotta wait for the next one. What are they gonna throw at them?
Well, because originally BOFURI season 2 was gonna drop this year, but because of COVID, they pushed it back to 2021. So
I'm just glad, because the rumors for this was the original dub was not going to continue until December.
But fortunately, they managed to fix that. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting show. It was kind of hilarious just because of how OP Maple became, and it's just I'm watching this literally like she is a walking raid boss. She's got like so many like massively powerful and wide-reaching attacks, and it's just when you think you've got her beat, suddenly it's like, this isn't even my final form. Oh, you thought that was my final form? Guess what? 2 more. No, it wasn't even that, because the first not even my final form was Machine God, and then you thought that was my final form? Atrocity. It is very funny because of that, and how clueless Maple is about a lot of She learns quick, but she is still very naive about a lot of this stuff. And fortunately, once Sally starts joining her, and Kasumi and Iz and Kanade and all of them start joining up with her, she sort of learns from them how to better manage her abilities. Well, she's forced to by the nerfs that the admins place on her. But the fact that like Mei and Yui both basically subscribe to just the same sort of, I'm going to use whatever ridiculous thing that comes to mind.
Shockwave. They come up out of nowhere. She buffed them with the Angel's defense, and the next thing you just see them just drop down. Shockwave! And this whole...
They both slam both of their hammers at the same time, just wham! Huge shockwave attack. It's kind of hilarious, and it's the sort of thing that if you were playing in a game against her, you would probably be like, what the fuck is that? That's bullshit.
No, tell the truth. What we'll be saying is hacks.
Hacks,
that right. Is not true. That's hacks.
That's hacks. She has to be hacking. Nope, she's not hacking. It's just the game is not developed, not coded very well. But yeah, definitely I would recommend checking it out if you like those sorts of fantasy-ish settings. Mm-hmm. It has a lot with that sort of... Dot hack was probably what inspired a lot of this, I would say. If you like Slayers, because Slayers could get kind of ridiculous with its world and how all the characters basically bounced off of each other. God, I haven't watched Slayers in years.
You mentioned that when she was fighting the Fire Empress, and she started doing what was the equivalent of a Dragon Slave. Yeah, and then chanting, and you're like, "Oh my God, she's casting a Dragon Slave!"
Yeah, that's right. It was me was charging up one of her big attacks. Not the self-destruct, but her big attack. I was like, "Oh my God, she's trying to do the Dragon Slave."
So, before we wrap this up, I do have a question.
Yes.
Out of the whole 12 episodes, what was your favorite?
I can't pick one, to be honest.
I got one.
What's that?
When she was power leveling the twins through the dungeon. Yeah. And she's like, here, take this poison immune. What's this for? And she puts the poison orb around them as they just steamroll everything.
Oh, that's right. Boss. She just rolls through the dungeon and just kills everything.
With the poison.
And because they were going with her, they were getting all the XP, even though they weren't doing anything.
And they got out of the ball and they're like, I'm so dizzy. I'm supposed to fight the boss.
It was literally like the siblings in The Incredibles when she puts the force field around them and he just hamster balls it.
Yep.
It was like that, except with a big orb full of poison damage.
God.
But yeah, I definitely give BOFURI a thumbs up. It's on Funimation.
I think it deserves the almost 5 stars. It's just
It's got a little bit of a sliver. It's close to 5-star rating. Definitely deserves it. We're both looking forward to season 2 next year.
It's going on the shelf. I'm going to find it and buy it for the shelf.
And Zeke is, in case you didn't hear that, Zeke has said he is going to track down this anime so he can buy it physical and have it on his shelf. If that's not a recommendation for how much he likes it, that should tell you a lot. Because in this day and age, when you can just stream everything, what's the point of having stuff physical? That's a sign.
Take that long. Take you when traveling. But I got a short drive. Let's go ahead and play Stone Hill.
There you go.
There you go.
So we're gonna keep this short. We're not like me and Chris when it comes to these when it comes to these sorts of things. We don't go on for an hour and a half very much.
Very straight, very normal. With a shield and sword, we shall continue to the next one.
Yes, and we're gonna put all our points into defense. Oh, actually, there's a thing we can do as a last little discussion before we conclude this. If you were in that game and you had to max out one of your stats, which one would it be?
Well, I guess we're talking basic strength, vitality,
strength, vitality, defense, speed, intelligence. I think, which is tied with like mage stuff, and luck.
I would
actually let's go with. Rather than going off of whatever those, let's go with special, like from Fallout.
Okay.
Strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, luck.
I would either do one of the two, endurance or strength. Because I want to be able to push through, but at the same time, that's why part of strength, I want to be able to go through the enemy, fight them, and overpower them, and hopefully just keep pushing through. But I don't like
so maybe you would split your stats between those two.
50-50.
I would probably do perception and strength. Perception, because then I can find the weak points and then just target those.
We got one more, and we'll call us up. What would you want to see in season 2?
Like you, I want to see more of them in like real life. Like, I'm wondering if any of the characters are anything like what they are like in the game. Because we've all seen those things where it's like sometimes girls will play guy characters in games because that's the only way they get taken seriously is if they're playing a male character. And there are plenty of guys who will choose to play a female character.
Me,
because if you're going to be spending hours staring at your character's behind, you want it to be a character that looks good to stare at. I completely understand that mentality. So who knows? Maybe some of the other. I think everybody in the Maple Tree Guild is probably exactly like they're like in the game, except maybe the mage character whose name I can't remember now. He strikes me as the sort that could be a chick in real life playing a Bishonen guy because, again, only way she gets taken seriously.
See, I thought that towards the beginning, but not with the mage guy, but with one of the sisters.
With one of the twins?
Yes, I thought one of the twins was going to be a dude
playing a chick. So because he's playing with his like little sister.
Yep.
It's interesting, but I feel like everybody probably. Well, I don't know. We haven't really run into any characters whose voices sound like they might have been distorted or whatever. But you'd have like some sort of voice filter over that you're using while you're talking on Discord or something.
There's one thing I would like to see besides that. I would like to see the admins because
I want to see the admins are interesting, but they only pop up a handful of times, and they're all represented by like the same avatar but with like different colors.
Because back when I was playing Final Fantasy XI online, I actually saw one of them, the actual people who ran the servers come in and just annihilate an account because you saw him walk up to him and the account disappeared.
He dropped the banhammer.
He banned him. I want to see that would be. I want to see them come up with their own characters to interact with Maple to try to get to know her a little bit more.
And that's another thing I'd kind of like to see. I'd like to see the griefers.
The griefers?
The sort of people who play the game and deliberately do stuff to try to piss off the
other players. Those guys.
Yes. In case it's not obvious, Zeke does play a lot of MMO type of stuff. He did Final Fantasy 11. You did
WoW, Final Fantasy 11, Phantasy Star Online, Phantasy Star Universe, and Final Fantasy 14. Now, Phantasy Star Online 2.
Mm-hmm. The closest MMO that I do is Destiny, which is an MMO just with guns, basically. I haven't seen anything like seeing one of the devs actually show up and hammer a guy in person.
I do wonder what that would look like in Destiny. Like have
it would probably just be a case of such and such as has left the game. That's it.
Have a sweeper bot walk up to him.
Sweeper bot, yes. Sweeper bot would be the best way to do it. Or have somebody literally just show up as Shin Malphur, just golden gun them to death.
Oh my
god. But yeah, I would like to see that sort of thing, because let's be honest, griefers definitely exist in that MMO somewhere. Maple and her friends have just not run into any of them yet.
Oh my god!
And I want to see how they react to that sort of thing. Especially if the griefer finds out a way that they can grief Maple without getting nuked.
Oh my god!
Because that's the main thing. Nobody in their right mind is going to try to take on Maple unless they have a good strategy.
The whole village, we can take out Maple. No, Hydra.
Yeah, Predator, Hydra. But yeah, seeing the admins maybe stepping in, heck, having them show up to talk to Maple in person. But in those like same cutesy avatars.
You want to do the cutesy avatar?
That just when they're just talking to her. But if the admins have to get involved because of something else, then they just sort of suddenly become one-winged angel. Wham!
See, I was thinking vice versa. I would like to see them come in as a character that they have to play during their free time.
Okay.
And then
yeah,
when they come
that would be interesting.
When they have to stop Maple is like, oh, look at the cute bunny! Death!
Okay. Yeah. Just the Fluffy the Terrible kind of.
Bunnies don't have rabies.
Yeah, have you seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail? Do not cross the bunny. But yeah, so I think that about wraps it up.
Yes.
We've covered a lot. We don't want to go on too long about this. So yeah, BOFURI gets a thumbs up from me. It definitely gets a thumbs up from Zeke, who has said he wants to get this physical so he can have it on his shelf. So that about wraps up this little Wrapcast. That is a wrap, as it were. So for Zeke, I'm Jay.
I'm going to find my pillow shield and go to bed now.
So for Zeke, I'm Jay, and we'll see you when we do our next binge. 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 We do our next